and healing as stories are told. Come on, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the call. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise from the strong to justice we seek. Let's lift every voice. Inner Circle podcast where hearts unite, sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the call. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. So join the conversation, let's set the tone. Inner Circle podcast where love is well known. Inner Circle podcast where hearts unite, sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Inner Circle podcast, where we amplify voices, empower communities, and elevate conversations that matter. I'm your host, Abe Kamara, and tonight we are asking a bold question: is the lottery just a game, or is it a silent tax on the poor and working class, especially in immigrant communities? It's like from scratch card to the Powerball dreams. We'll be unpacking the business, the burden, and the broken hope behind those tickets, right? Let's talk truth, money, the myths we have been sold. So tonight's topic is the lottery a tax on the poor. So want you as our audience to kind of participate, right? I will first begin by asking you guys, if you are listening tonight or you'll be listening to this segment, do you play the lottery? Are you someone that goes to the gas station every time on your way to work or dropping the kids off to school? Do you play the lottery? If you do, why? Why do you play the lottery? If not, why not? And also, so our panelists, Miss B is going to be joining us, but this is our usual business segment. Miss Jerry, do you play the lottery?
Personally, I don't play the lottery.
Why not? Seems to be a popular thing. Why
I
don't you
know.
play? Why don't you play the lottery? Right? It's like there's that perception out there that if you give it a shot, you never know, right? You might win a couple of bucks. So why don't you play the lottery?
I feel like it's a scam. It's
What
a
kind of lottery you want us to play? Like real lottery, Abraham?
you know,
love the way
this
you
is
just have one.
this is
Just-
a good. This is gonna be a real lottery. Want to discuss the impact of lottery in our communities, in the Black community, in the immigrant community. So that's what tonight. There's a business segment, right? Every time you bring about, to me, I believe personally, like the lottery is like a taxation on the underprivileged folks who feel that, hey, like they can make few bucks out there. So this it's been sold like as a dream, like, hey, you might be one of those, you might be lucky to win the Powerball or the jackpot or whatever. So I wanted to bring that up tonight. I wanted to bring that up to discuss it on this business segment, right? It's the burden.
I was
Yes.
just wondering which kind of lottery. I thought that was a TV lottery you were talking about.
Oh, the immigrant lottery. Nah.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the Powerball that you can play with. First of all, do you play? I asked Miss Jerry. She said she doesn't play a lottery. Do you play a lottery?
No, I've
Why
never.
not? Why
Maybe
not?
every now and then I probably bought $1 ticket here and there, but no.
Okay, Miss Jerry feels that it's a scam. So why don't you play? Is it a scam too for you?
Well, it's a pyramid scheme, and it could be a scam because do we really know the people that win?
Well, you might hear one or two stories out there, right? That someone here, someone won maybe like if there's a 1 billion or 1 point, especially the Powerball, you might hear, oh yeah, this person won it, and then they presented a huge check. Don't you see it? So it's like it encourages people to participate.
No one close enough for me to have known that have won for me to trust that is legit.
Okay.
Like it could be somebody they pick and say, oh, this person has won, and then maybe they go share the money with the person or something like that.
So as Miss Jerry, you think it's a scam?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Well, folks, so as I said, our topic is a lottery attacks on the poor, or do you think it's an opportunity, for someone to get rich, for someone to make a couple of bucks? So that's the topic we're going to be discussing tonight. And by the end of this segment, we'll also be selecting a lucky winner here, right? The first 200 subscribers to the Inner Circle Podcast YouTube channel. Your first 200 subscribers will win a lucky prize. That's what we're offering tonight. So first 200 subscribers, we have a prize.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can I subscribe multiple times? I can only subscribe once.
You can only subscribe one. That's what
Oh man.
You can only subscribe one. So it's going to be a fun game tonight. So folks, if you are listening or you're going to listen to the segment, first 200 subscribers, right? Lucky prize. We're not going to tell you what the price is, because that's what a lot of it, but they don't tell you. They don't tell you. Normally that scratch, especially the scratch card, where they don't tell you what the price is going to be until you scratch it out. So the first 200 subscribers to our YouTube channel, Inner Circle Podcast, will win a special prize. So folks, you can also contribute to the conversation tonight by putting a comment in the chat or calling our number 952-594-5154. And again, this community is growing. Inner Circle Podcast is growing. We want to be, we want you to join us, so you can follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. So please join this community. First of all, though, just talking about this lottery, right? Doing some couple of research, right? The Minnesota lottery generates $775 million annually. Right, it's like, and then when you come to the scratch off games, like those, if you go to the gas station, right? The scratch off games, like 525 million, basically, right? And then, so these are hard data. So when you look at this, right, is it really, if the state is benefiting, is this a revenue generating thing for the state? Is it really the way it is sold that, hey, when you play it, you're going to win something, or the state or the federal, even like nationally, is this just being pushed upon people just to, just for the government to make up the bucks?
So that part, right, where I thought it was just for the state of Minnesota, but I guess it's the Midwest. So we share the pot with, I believe, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indianapolis, Minnesota. Like it's a couple of different states.
Mm-hmm. Well, but each state has
Powerball.
Well, yeah, the Powerball is national. The Powerball is national, but there's a Minnesota lottery, right? The state itself has a lottery. Minnesota has a lottery, where in the state as a whole generate $775 million, and then the lottery, Minnesota State Lottery, contributes $196 million to the state budget, right? That's what they contribute to the state budget. And then all of the gas stations that participate in this thing, right? They contribute, they get paid about $51 million. All of the gas stations, that's what the state gets.
Is government paid in that?
No. So the Minnesota State Lottery, the way the lottery works, right? So it's a state agency, basically.
Okay.
Right? So they sell those tickets, right, to ordinary folks, either scratch offs or sometimes the Powerball, and things like that. So when they generate the revenue they generate after all of their operating expenses, after everything, they contribute $196 million back to the state.
Oh, okay.
That department of the state, they make 700 and something million, and they send back almost 200 million back.
Yeah, almost 200 million back to.
So where does the rest of the money go?
Well, that's what I said. So the 51. Well, the surprise money, right, is like they pay out about $476 million. So whoever plays it, right, all those that plays it.
So they're claiming to give that to the winner.
Oh yeah, to the first winners, right? There's I
know, right, Jerry?
you know, what I mean?
And then when they get into the windows, they charge them taxes over that money too.
Oh yeah, it's
Yup.
taxable, right? It's taxable, right? I mean, that's an earning. That's an earning. It's taxable, right? So, I mean, so I guess the essence of actually bringing this topic tonight, right? Is it like an extra tax burden on maybe the poor or the underprivileged? What do you guys think? I know you say it's a scam, Miss Jerry, but I think I want to take it from the tax burden piece. Is it like an extra tax burden on folks that are just trying to make life happen and things like that, right? Because sometimes these are the folks you see mostly participating.
Yeah, I feel like it is because if you look at the lottery, it targets certain communities and it's mostly low income communities.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I mean,
Okay, oh my.
okay. Um, so yeah, that's a part about it that I think, is like to your point, right? It's targeted towards these lower income communities. You enter a gas station, you see it all over. So I think like, to your point that you're making, Miss Jerry, it's kind of what seems to be targeted towards like lower income communities because someone who at a higher income bracket, you hardly see them participating according to research, right? You hardly see them participating in the lottery. Miss B, what's your take?
I don't understand how it's a tax burden. You're saying is it a tax burden on the individual or is it a tax burden that we all carry as
It's
citizens?
a tax burden on the individual. It's a tax burden, on the individual. And there are a lot of statistics here that I'll kind of try to go through that. But I
So the
think it's a
tax
tax
burden
burden.
is because just because I buy a ticket, it's a tax burden, or when I win, it's become a tax burden.
No, when you buy a ticket, because how many times do you have to buy a ticket to win, right? What's the ratio of it? How many like
Oh,
there are folks who kind of buy a ticket like every day or every week, right? There are folks who do that.
People
and
buy
that
that
is the
ticket
reason why I don't play.
religiously. They buy
What?
like every. I said people buy religiously like every day or every week. They buy
Yeah,
it.
there are folks who buy that stuff every day, right? It's like every day they must go to the gas station, right, and buy their lottery ticket because you never know, right? You never know when your lucky day might be, and things like that.
So,
Like so, go ahead.
so I would say, folks, like we said last week, Wednesday, I think is when we was talking about the stock market.
Mhm.
The time you've taken to invest in the lottery, you would have been better off over all these years buying stock. But
Oh my
you will
god!
have been that much more richer. I would agree with Abe on that part that yes, you are more guaranteed to cash out with a large sum of money by investing in the stock market than the possibility of winning the lottery. I wish we had like somebody who's been playing for years to actually come on the show and tell us how invested have they been for how many years and how much money if they took the time to calculate have they spent.
I mean, you won't believe it. There are a lot of folks in our community, right? There are a lot of folks in our community, especially
Wow.
hey, maybe like there are a lot of folks like I mean in the black community, in the immigrant community, a lot of folks kind of they are religiously committed to this thing, right? That they feel like by playing a lottery, right? Hey, it might be their lucky day because you see these things on sometimes if someone win, even like I mean they stay right, kind of if you go to a gas station, you might see someone, hey, the person won maybe like 250,000, or maybe the person won $1 million and things like that. You might say, hey, maybe let me give this a shot. It might be my lucky day, or it might be one of those days. Who knows? So there are folks who are already vested into this thing. They do it religiously. And it's not. I mean, in other communities, maybe in the Caucasian communities or in communities that are higher income or higher education, you don't find these there a lot. But in our community, I think it's a big deal.
The thing with me is I don't even go into the gas station. I pay
Oh,
for
so
my gas at the pump.
how do you get gas? How do you get gas?
I pay for my gas at the pump.
There's no card.
Who goes into
Oh,
the gas? I'm like, who goes in?
so you have no interaction.
I have
So you have,
no interaction. I can't tell you the last time I've entered a gas station.
okay. Well, here's some other numbers, right? Nationally, right? The national lottery sales like $113 billion in 2023, right? The Powerball that you heard about, right? Nationally, it was $113 billion in sales. And
Wow.
160 million Americans participate in the Powerball.
Wow.
160 million
And we
Americans.
don't even get that many people to show up and vote.
Oh, okay. So when it comes to money, so the average
Bueno.
person, the average person, right, spends about $325 annually, right? Per person, that's what we spend, right, on the lottery.
On the
You
lottery.
know, yeah, and then like with revenue allocation, like $30.6 billion goes towards public programs. But if you're generating $113 billion and you only allocating about $30 billion, right, that goes towards the various states that participate, they do allocate those to, as I said, Minnesota. Minnesota lottery gives $196 million to the state. And so they allocate this, and then this, according to them, they spend it on various public programs. But then imagine 160 million Americans participating in this thing, and then
That's
100,
crazy.
$113 billion in revenue. So it's a huge business, right? It's a huge business. So, and then as I said earlier, it's like most of those that buy the lottery ticket, they are in lower income communities, right? It's like the participation rate among folks with lower income, 61%. 61%.
Wow. And what's the income bracket they're talking about exactly?
Well, they didn't put a bracket. They didn't put an income bracket. It's just the lower income individuals, right? Lower
Wow.
income. So that could be it. It could be you and I. It could be you and I, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. It could be you and I. So it's hard, right? And then, but then the other thing they talk about here, like in wealthy zip codes, you don't really find that there, right? You don't really.
Well, you want to find out there because in the low income neighborhood, they're selling this dream where, okay, if you play the lottery, you could be a multi-millionaire. But people are already rich. You're not going to sell them nothing.
No. That's exactly what they're selling. Hope. The lottery sells hope. And you're able to sell hope because people can see what ends up happening when you have a lot of money. All day they're parading these celebrities there around us with this nonsense money and the bag, and because look at the Met Gala. I'm like, what is the purpose of that event, to be honest,
Exactly.
right? And that's the why we keep going to go buy lottery tickets, because one day we're going to be pregnant like Rihanna and wearing mess on a red carpet. Yeah.
So you think one of the reasons why we buy lottery tickets in our communities is it because we want to strike a rich, we want to be like those celebrities, and things like that.
People want to be rich. People want to be rich overnight. People want that easy, quick life. Like, okay, I buy this one ticket. It's a possibility I can be a multimillionaire within no time.
Okay. Well,
and how many people have won the lottery? How many people have gotten rich over the lottery over the years? Do they provide that number?
They didn't really provide that number. But one of the striking statistics, right? Most of those that win the lottery, they end up sometimes, in most cases, going broke.
Losing it.
Yeah, losing it because
that's another thing too.
Because it's like, I think most folks, right, that win it, there's not a financial education. They don't have the financial foundation to manage it. And then you just feel like, and then the other thing too, though, right, when you win it, however much you win, as I think you or Miss Jerry said earlier, right, it's taxable. It's an income, so it's taxable. So that's the other piece of it. And then if you're not used to that kind of a huge bucks, there's a possibility that you definitely mismanage it.
Yep.
But so, you think women and men, who are those that play the lottery more, women or men?
I would say men. I would say the males.
I said men.
You guys are right.
Men.
Yeah,
you know why?
More men play the lottery than the women. Why? Go ahead.
Because Trevor Noah said it. Trevor Noah said it very well. He said, "Black women can't afford to fuck up and find out."
The men can afford to do that.
Therefore, we need that $5 to do what that $5 needs to do.
Repeat that again. I didn't catch that. What did Trevor Noah say?
The great Trevor Noah said, Black women cannot afford to fuck up and find out. Okay. So therefore, we need that $5 to do what it needs to do. So that's why you will not find. I know for us Black women, you'll not find a lot of us playing the lottery. Okay. But yes.
So why do you think more men play it then? Why do you think more Black men play it?
Men have more money than women in this country, period.
Okay, well, a lot of black men don't have money, and more black men play the lottery.
More black men are not on the radar for how much money they really have.
Exactly.
That's the reality. You know, and working in public policy and working for a nonprofit, I probably shouldn't say what I'm about to say, but the reality is we're not as broke as statistically we appear to be broke. Because on one end we're so broke, but we are what, $1 trillion consumers? Like, where we getting money from to be such consumers? I really want to know.
Well, because I think
that math is not mathing.
It's not
I mean, consumerism is so more to folks with lower income, right? Because they want you, when you have that paycheck or you have that money, they want you to spend it, right? They don't want you to invest it, right? Consumerism, if you really look at it, and that's what's like America, right? It's like, if you talk about the American economy is heavily reliant on what consumers, right? Because, and who are the consumers? Is those that are just maybe like, getting by paycheck to paycheck. Those are the consumers, right? It's like the Warren Buffetts, the Elon Musk, the Mark Zuckerberg, even at a time where you have higher inflation, or even those with net worth of 5 million or so, you don't find them mostly in stores, right? You're not going to find them at a Target, not many times, right? Let's say, but you and I, we have to probably go there every week, right? Because so to answer your question, right, or to maybe like to bring up that point, the reason why maybe like black folks, right, spend more money or contribute more to the economy is because most of us live paycheck to paycheck.
But then therefore we should be consuming less, right? Like, how is it that we make up 23% of this?
The way the economy is set up, the more you make, right, the more you spend. Well, the less you make, the more
to an extent.
The
less you make, the more you spend. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have a choice. You have to pay your rent, right? You have to buy groceries. You have to buy clothes for your kids, right? These are not choices. You know what I mean? I think these are things that you have to do. So when it comes to that, you have to consume. And so back to the lottery here, maybe that's some of the reason why instead of everybody want to strike it rich, right? That's the essence of it.
Oh, definitely. That's why people want to strike it rich. Yeah. And they want to go to the Met Gala and look a hot mess, but be worth a lot of money.
So what?
I'm lying, Jerry. Those people were looking at a hot mess. I'm sorry.
Some of the outfit this year was just like outrageous. Like, come on now, I don't get it. Like,
well, they want you guys to buy it. I mean, if you're watching them, right? Then I mean, they want you or Miss Jerry to, because okay, when it comes to fashion, though, the ladies, I mean, that's what you guys. I mean, those are the things you guys pay attention to. So,
yeah.
If I win the lottery, I will invest in having my own clothing line, because I think fashion is just very practical. It's not as what was seen last night or Sunday night. It's not that. No.
Okay.
Like, I never run into people like that. Like, who runs into people dressed like that? Like,
you have never run into someone dressed like that. Dressed like those celebrities.
If I'm at a fashion show, but it's like they portray, and again, they're selling hope, and that's why we buy the lottery ticket, right? Because they portray like that's your everyday life. Like, you just get up looking like that, and you just get up and put on clothes like that, right? If you got money. And I know I be around some people with some money, right? I know I be around people with serious money, and they don't be dressed like that. They really don't.
Okay.
But why are they selling that to us and we're buying it, right? We're buying that. I'm sure people are going to go right now and try to implement what they saw, right? They're going to go and try and spend some money, or they probably even got even more motivated to go buy lottery tickets after this weekend, what they saw. Like,
exactly, though. And so I mean the other angle here, right? Like, we all have been sold this thing about the American dream. Everything, the American dream, like trying to achieve the American dream. Some folks believe it, some folks don't. But do you guys think the lottery is a shortcut to the American dream? If there's an American dream.
The stats is not good enough for me to wager in on that. That's probably why I don't play. Like, I know it's there, that possibility is there, but the possibility to go to the moon is also there, but you don't see me investing in that. Yeah, man.
Go to the moon. Come on.
Okay.
I
Okay.
just, at this rate, I'll probably quicker go to the moon than win the lottery. Anyways.
Okay. Okay. Well, folks, so now we are discussing the lottery, right? A lot of folks play the lottery, they play the Powerball, they play the scratch card, they play the blah, blah, blah. What's your take on the lottery? Is it a tax on the poor? Is it something that's being sold to us? Especially like if you look at the statistics, it's heavily marketed in immigrant and poor communities, right? A lot of folks, as I said, right, 160 million Americans participate in lottery every year. So it's something, right? I mean, that's why we brought this topic on this business segment tonight to kind of discuss it, right? Is it instead of you going to, establish your home health business or have your car dealership business, maybe you can just be playing a lottery. Who knows, right? Who knows? Who knows? There's something might happen for you. So instead of going through all that stress, you can just take your $2, right? It's $2. The ticket is $2. You can just take your $2, go to the gas station and and buy it, and then hope that you will strike your rich. So I mean, should we kind of be reliant on such a shortcut to strike a rich, or should we kind of lean more into entrepreneurship in our community, right? Like start avoiding the shortcuts, the easy way to wealth, and the true way to build generational wealth. It should be through entrepreneurship. It should be through I mean, being an employee is not going to get you there, but being basically trying to build, businesses in our communities. What?
But Abe, you know how they do susu? They do that for the lottery too. Like you'll find a group of people at the nursing home, Liberians. I've heard about this. Yes, they will put their money together and go
You gotta
buy
buy
a bunch of
tickets.
lottery tickets.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the time they can take to do that, like you said, they could come together and open a business, right? Maybe invest in open their own nursing home, but no, they'll be at their job. And not just us, other ethnic groups as all, they'll come together on the job and buy a lottery ticket. And I've
Mhm.
heard it has worked and people have won, but again, I don't know for sure.
So do you think that looking at that, I mean, looking at those reality, looking at the factors, right? Where in like, do you think that our community need to do more to, as we always say on this show, to promote financial literacy, to say, hey man, like you said, right, that whole susu mindset, right? Instead of you taking it and going to buy the lottery, why can't we maybe put our resources together and try to establish a business? Do you think we need more financial literacy, entrepreneurship mindset in our community? The whole mindset shift. Ms. Jerry, I will start with you. How can we decide to shift these, right? To kind of to say in our community, man, we need to get away from this kind of a mindset of just trying to get. I mean, there's so many get rich quick scheme these days, right? And the lottery to me is one of them, as you guys said. You say it
Yeah.
was a, you say it was a scam first, but how do we shift that mindset?
But just encouraging folks to be more innovative and I think that look to establishing and opening more businesses instead of, because I don't know anyone in the Liberian community who have won the lottery, honestly. So that's a sign that this is not helping our community. We are pouring in more, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars into this every year, and we are not getting anything in return. Whereas we can pull that same money together and maybe start like a community nursing home, since so many of us in this field.
And that's the thing. I mean, maybe that would be a whole nother topic on this business segment. Right? There's so many of you who own these group homes, right? Someone very close to me is right now in a facility, and it kind of the money they are spending on in that facility. I'm looking at it as oh man, right? All of you guys that own these individual group homes, if they can just build a huge facility, right? Because there's a huge need for it, though. It's a huge,
There's
huge
a need
need.
for it.
Yeah.
Other communities do it, but we don't have that in our community. And I feel like it's because the demand, most of our people to stay home with their family. So I feel like that's why a lot of people don't want to do that.
So I mean, as a segue though, right? As like you guys are in that space, are you encouraging folks, right, to get away from that kind of a mindset? Are you encouraging folks, right? Are you trying to pull like maybe group money together, or those that are already in there encouraging, hey man, let's do group, do do Liberian business owners or Liberian entrepreneurs encourage that kind of a mindset to put resources together as a group instead of just the individual thing?
I don't know if that. If you see
Um,
one, let me know.
But you know, I will push that further though. Have you ever maybe like, it's like, have you kind of maybe taken the initiative or try to take the initiative in that regard? Have you ever tried that?
Yeah, but it wasn't within the Liberian community, to be honest. It was with other friends, or not necessarily the Liberians.
Okay,
Yeah,
Miss
I had
B.
some Liberians there, but it was just a mixture of other people.
I like to.
Why didn't you, Miss B, a little bit, why didn't you, encourage or engage your fellow Liberians, right? Your fellow Liberians, to
Most of us Liberians, we have trust issues with each other. That's the first thing. A lot of Liberians are skeptical of other Liberians. They don't want to do businesses with other Liberians.
I mean, you hear this a lot in your community, but is it just a stereotype, or is it a real thing, or we use it as an excuse not to help one
Well,
another? You hear it a
it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
lot. Okay, Miss B, go ahead.
I don't think we help either. Like for me, I'm trying so hard to change the narrative. And she's
Mm,
right. There's a lot of people that have trust issues with each other because the narrative out there has always been, oh, people don't pay you back. People, they'll come and borrow from you. They don't pay you back. They'll steal. That backstabbing. So much negative narrative when it comes to money and us is in there. And so
mm,
it's going to take a lot to undo that. But I will say, in my job, we have been able to bring people together, what we call cooperative development,
mm,
and that's bringing their money together. So in turn, changing that susu into a cooperative where it's about shared ownership, right? So what we often do is bring together real estate investment cooperatives where
okay.
everybody come and they put maybe 5,000. They'll say the minimum amount is maybe 5,000. You got 20 people bringing $5,000 together, and then
Mm,
they'll raise enough down payment and operational dollars to purchase a building or something like that. We've been able to do that successfully with two different groups of cooperatives in my work that I do. And so I continue to push that, right? We'll be opening up the opportunity for other people to come and go through what is called a cohort. And it will be like a 10-month process of coming together as a group, understanding what cooperative development and how it works. And
mm,
then at the end of that cohort, those folks will decide, do they want to create an entity, and that
mm,
entity would then decide, okay, we're going to start on the financial track. So there's the cooperative track where you're coming together, understanding bylaws and articles and all those different things. And then the financial track is, now you say you found a property you want to go after, and this is what it looks like to find the broker, owner's rep, lending, all those things like that. And then we help you through all of that process. And then at the end, help you even to figure out what the funding look like. If it's a capital stack, like where we're going to get all the different capitals from and all of those things. And we did that successfully with two different groups, which was a total of, if you combine both the two cooperatives that we helped to do that,
mm.
a total of 37 individual business owners came together to form these two cooperatives and purchase buildings. So
I
it
don't
can
like
happen. It
I don't
takes
like
time, but
I
it
don't
can.
like brand business owners. I don't like brand business owners.
One of them is all African immigrant women business owners, and then the other one is a mix of women and men.
So all African, is it like folks for
That's
all
awesome.
African?
Cameroon, Sierra Leone, Liberia.
Are there Liberians in there?
Yes, it's a lot more Liberian women than any other nationality. And the
Okay.
reality is they did this during COVID. That's
Mm,
why their story is so inspiring. They did this during COVID, didn't
mm,
even meet each other. They were only just getting together on Zoom meetings. And
mm,
they've saved, and they were able to put money in a bank account. They would literally just go put the money there, take a picture and put it into the group chat. Go put a money in the bank account and put it into the group chat. And I knew it was possible when one of the ladies, it took 2 years before they finally met. And when they met each other, it's like, oh my God, I recognize your voice. You're so and so. I remember you from you're so and so.
Wow.
Seeing each other for the first time. I don't know how much I can say, but I will say these ladies raised over $200,000. Over $200,000.
okay.
Right.
Okay.
And
Who
that's
brought
what's so,
that?
but the best part of the story, real quick, is one of the ladies touched me. She said, I came here because of one other person, and I've already invested over $20,000, just her alone. And I was like, this is powerful. so it can happen. It takes time, but it can happen.
Who brought them together? Who idea was it to bring them together? Was it ISA initiated? Is that a non-profit initiative, or was it? What was it?
I will say it has been a personal passion of mine. It really has been a personal passion of mine. And working at my organization, I took it upon myself to figure out, how do I bring my community together around shared ownership, cooperative wealth building, because I knew the idea that the likelihood of one person building another Amazon in my community is very slim. But it's very more likely of my community building an Amazon if we all came together. So I went and did a fellowship about cooperative, because I knew we were doing susus. And I'll tell you, we have a susu here that is so large. They have a bank account in Wells Fargo, probably with over almost $500,000. That's how much money this susu has generated. And they do lending, even though we're not supposed to. That's why I'm not calling names. Technically, you're not supposed to do lending. But the Susu does lending where people will come. If you can vouch for Abraham, and Abraham wants like a $20,000 loan. That's how well developed this Susu is. So when I'm hearing about these different Susus, and all these business people are in Susu, that's how some of them are taking care of their business, buying inventory. They're in Susus, paying their rent for their spaces. I said, but you're in Susu, why you can't come together and do this? And I said, how can I formalize this? And I went to the fellowship, and I learned about cooperative development as a real formalized structure that I'm sure my folks would be okay with. And started having conversation with a small group of, ladies. It was probably 6 of them at first. And then COVID hit. And then the need for it grew more, because why? Their landlords were kicking them out or was putting late fees on them. There was no protection around business owners who had their spaces but weren't in their shops to pay rent, and we're still being expected to pay the rent. And so no, we need to buy our own building. We need to own our own space, because look at how this man is treating us. Look how these landlords are treating us. They would pay the rent during COVID. Even though the shops were closed, they would pay the rent. The landlord would still give them late fees, threatened to evict some of them when they were a moratorium on housing, where you couldn't evict anybody from an apartment. You couldn't foreclose anybody's home during COVID. Business owners didn't have that protection with their spaces. And so that motivated them even more to come together, right? That urgency was there. So some of that is probably what helped. But yeah, it's always been my own personal passion. And that's why I appreciate where I work. I was able to do that.
That was the first group. So the second group, how did it come together?
The second group, unfortunately, we all know the Brown Building. We all call it the Brown Building. When I say the Brown Building, I'm sure y'all know which building I'm talking about in Brooklyn Park.
LeBron Mall.
That's what y'all used to call it, the Library Mall. When the last time you went to the Library Mall? Is it still in existence?
I haven't been to the Library Mall forever.
You see, landlord sold the building, and of course, the new owner evicted them. Okay. Yeah, and so we were there rallying in the cold with signs, went to the city of Brooklyn Park to support those business owners. At the end of the day, they left from there, they formed a cooperative, and they bought their building out cash. Cash. Yep.
Okay.
They didn't take no bank loans. They came together and they all bought their building straight cash out. Yeah, so it's possible. Okay. And people are doing it. Yeah.
So then, how can we then, offer these kind of sustainable alternatives, right? Because those are the things you are talking about, right? Those are sustainable alternatives to the gambling, because like the lotteries are gambling, right? These are the things you're offering right there, right? Those are sustainable alternatives, right? So many of us go solo on so many things where we are doing the individually by ourselves and things like that. But how can we encourage the kind of model you're explaining? How can we make it widespread in our community, right? It's something your organization or your passion, you're doing it. But how can that be like a model that we can all run with in our community? Because these are sustainable, as I said, alternatives to gambling or to get rich schemes. How can we, maybe Miss Jerry, your business, you're an entrepreneur here too, right? It's like, how can we, Miss B is doing that, but in your own field, especially in healthcare, how can we kind of model these things, right? The healthcare space, there's a huge need for it. It's a huge, it's like, I think, the opportunity to create businesses in there is there, right? But how can immigrants come together, especially Liberians, right? To kind of maybe establish a nursing home, a big time nursing home in this place? You're on mute, Miss Jerry. You're on mute.
I'm sorry.
You
No
good.
worries.
You
Talking.
good.
No, I said we need to bring people like Miss B to the front when it comes to these things because she already have the education, she has the experience, she's done this, she have the success stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like just reaching out to people like her and saying like, okay, it's a lot of us that in this space. How can we come together and open like a huge facility instead of just doing it individually and having these smaller homes? And that's a way to get into real estate because I know a friend of mine introduced me to this lady
Mm-hmm.
who built a facility. I don't know if it was somewhere in Roseville where, and she said the government paid for that. I don't know how she did it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But we can come together and figure out how we can get in and take advantage of some of these programs because there are programs out there that will build these things for you with little or nothing, and you just have to put maybe a certain percentage down.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
And just
that's true. It's
But
very,
as a
right.
consultant, right? What is CareView Consulting doing, right? What is CareView Consulting doing to encourage folks, right? Instead of you advising individual folks, what are you doing to bring, to maybe like if someone comes to you with an idea and say, I want to establish a group home,
Mhm.
are you saying, hey, maybe are you encouraging them maybe to form a partnership or to form a cooperative or something like that? I mean, what is CareView doing?
Well, that's a goal of mine, but honestly, right now I'm not because I feel like I have too many things going on. I have too much on my plate, but that's something
Okay.
that I want to do maybe in the next 1 or 2 years.
Mhm.
So it's definitely in the cards, and it's something I know I'm gonna do.
Okay. Okay. Ms. B, have any idea for the healthcare folks? How can they maybe establish a big time nursing home here?
Before we do that, I want to ask Jerry because I think this is an important piece for people to know.
Hmm.
Jerry, do you come from the medical field? Are you a nurse or anything like that?
And no, I have no background.
Let me see. And I reason why I say that because oftentimes when I talk about us coming together, people feel like because somebody doesn't have experience in a field, they can't invest in that business. And again, a lot of this is going to be about educating our folks about investing, period. That like
Hmm.
people, if you make money and you have money to put somewhere, you are an investor. Look at yourself as an investor. We don't know how to look at ourselves as an investor, and we only know to think about investing in businesses that we have experience in. There's a difference in investing in a business you don't have experience in and starting a business you don't have
Hmm.
experience in.
Hmm.
I'm not going to go and try to run a group home by myself, even though a lot of people tell me I should do that just because I'm in real estate. I don't want to do that. I know it's going to be that much harder for me to start it by myself than if I went and found people who already have existing group home businesses, who are
Hmm.
already doing it and are successful. Just think about me trying to shift from my 9 to 5 and transition into starting my own business in this 2025. Don't think about how people were doing it easily prior to, right? We have to think about the times that we're in. The time it's going to take is going to cost me money. Sometimes not even the money so much, it's the time it takes you to lift off a business off the ground. So for
Hmm.
me, my whole mindset is I'm not looking to do anything from scratch. I'm looking to see who's doing it well, has been successful, and how can I invest in what already exists. Because for
Okay.
me, I just want to buy homes and buy property all day long. I don't care to run the group home. I don't care to hire anybody, but I'm willing to invest. And so that's what it looks like for me.
So, I mean, okay, like I can push you a little bit. In your real estate space, where you as a real estate investor, have you try to maybe form a co-op, right, for you guys because that's another opportunity, right? I think the community, right, where you like a lot of you have instead of you buying single family homes, like you have apartments out there, right? Opportunity to build apartments, and things like that. But have you tried to form cooperative in your real estate space by encouraging other immigrants, to join you?
Yes, I have. I'm invited to a women's investment group.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, so what we're doing is we're going through this like the same similar model and process that I've explained in my work. We're
Mm-hmm.
doing it outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was tasked with inviting other people to that. And so
Mhm.
I've just really been busy this month. So I haven't had the opportunity to have conversations with folks, and even like somebody like Jerry, who I met at the Inner Circle event in
Mhm.
person for the first time, even though we be on here on the panel, and
Mhm.
just kind of really rap. She and I was rapping, and we was talking, and getting to know her a little bit more, and just was really in awe of all the things that she has going on. She
Mhm.
seems like somebody I'm like I can see myself like really diving deeper, with. But we have to crawl before we run. She doesn't know me from Adams. Like,
Mhm.
she's not ready to probably like open up her portfolio and say, hey, this is what I got going. But we already started talking that lingo, and I in the body and the spirit, was vibing. And so I can
Mhm.
see that happening. It's just, to be honest, right now with work, is like, do I channel the energy only through my job, where I have the where I'm spending a lot of my time and focus, and then do I channel some energy outside of my job, where I really don't have all that time to bring along other folks with me? So if folks have that mindset and want to do it, I'm all for it. Like, I have the tools in my toolbox, but I can't now right now lead on it. And I would love to have support. Like, let's put an investment group together. Let's just have brunch. Let's have a table conversation. Maybe Inner Circle can host investment workshop, or just a roundtable conversation to see what that looks like.
Definitely, we're going to take you up on that. We're going to form a roundtable business discussion, investment discussion, as you said, right? To try to bring some investors together, for us to
You
probably,
don't get yourself in trouble.
what? What you say? What you say?
I'm in trouble.
Oh, she's in trouble. No, 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 she's not in trouble. She's not in trouble. But the thing is, right, we can try to, kind of get that started, because sometimes it's not about getting started in our community, right? It's not about getting started. So if we can get that started, that would be great. So, folks, tonight we are discussing is a lottery a tax on the poor, and as we discuss this, right, we're trying to change the narrative, right? Instead of focusing on these get rich quick schemes, we are trying to see how can we change or frame or reframe the narrative around these get rich quick schemes, and focusing on more on investment ventures, right? Being long-term wealth, forming, trying to have ownership, trying to develop that ownership culture. And that's what, Ms. B is talking about here. Trying to, we can build an apartment complex. We should do that, right? It's a lot about most of the apartment you see here is not individuals, right? It's a group of folks coming together and try to build these apartments. Or maybe we can build a group, a nursing home, nursing home facilities. Some of us might never see Africa or Liberia. We might end up in a nursing home. I rather end up in my own nursing home that I invested in than being somebody else's nursing home. So yeah, so these are great ideas. So folks, you can still contribute to the comment or contribute to the conversation by putting a comment in the chat. Calling our number 952-594-5154. But as we try to have this discussion, Miss B or Miss Jerry, how can we, again, right, encourage the ownership culture in our community? How can we kind of encourage ownership culture? Because it seems like there are a lot of things in the Black community, in the immigrant community, that we don't own. How can we encourage ownership culture?
And honestly, it's going to take us, as this the racial ethnic makeup in this country switches, it is going to take us to continue on some of these businesses, right? So we have to step up, or some of these industries will die, because that's just the reality. People of color are becoming the majority here soon. And so it is important that we step into these industries. We can't be the majority but still be the minority when it comes to wealth. That doesn't make sense, right? So just look at it that way. We're talking so much about how Black people will soon become the majority, but how can we be the majority in population size but then be the minority when it comes to wealth? So I just think it's about changing the narrative, educating, and reframing things, right? It's like, you say tomato, I say tomato. They're both right, you know? And so if I say I'm an investor, and you think of Jeff Bezos as an investor, we're both investor. We're investing according to how much we have. Yeah,
Okay.
it just has to be, that has to be the conversation we're having moving forward.
Then let me come to the trust issue. You guys always say Liberians, we have trust issue. How can we work on those trust issues? Miss Jerry, right? You're in a business space, you have a consultancy, you have a consulting business. How can you maybe like approach your clients, talk to your clients to change the narrative around trust issues? How can we change that?
I'm sorry, but most of my clients are East African.
Oh, you see, she don't even deal with Liberia. You see somebody. She don't even deal. She don't even. Like I love this. I love this. It's like we Liberians talk. Hey, you know what? We need to change the narrative. We need to change but we don't deal with each other, right? We don't. It's like you making East African rich, and you're not making Liberians rich because when they get into that growing business, they strike it rich. But
Those are
Liberians are
the
not
people
striking
who
rich.
are reaching out to me.
Oh, but they are the one reaching out to you. Are
Those are
you?
the people who, majority of the times, those are the people who come to me for consultation.
Hmm, okay. Wow.
Because we don't want to pay for stuff, unfortunately. And that's the problem. I don't even think it's trust so much as I don't even think it's so much the trust, but the fact we don't want to pay for stuff. Like we probably don't value how much more easier it's going to be to invest in starting out well by utilizing somebody like Jerry, right, and her skills
Mhm,
and what she brings to the work to the field.
mhm,
Like when I tell these people, like I'm not tooting my own home, but I offer so much with my program because I do pay for consultation too because I love things the easy way. I don't want to go trying to figure it on my own.
mhm,
And some of the money that I have paid for consultations and some of the things that I've gotten out of it is like really. And then I do all of this for you, and I'm charging less than what these people are charging you, and you still don't even want to pay me. And people
mhm.
who are in other parts of Africa will not even hesitate to pay me because they know the value I bring to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So and the thing is, I'm not going to go back and forth with you on my well. It's either you pay me the money and I do it for you, or you go and try and figure out on your own. But it's just the sad thing, like majority of the people that I do consultation for, especially with in Minnesota, they are majority East Africans. I'm not kidding you.
But I
Okay.
would say, Jerry, how many of us do you associate with though? Because I didn't know you. If it wasn't for Inner Circle and Abraham, I would.
That's what I'm saying, right? This is what so
I've
this
never
conversation.
seen you
I should,
anywhere.
I should have
I've
this
never ran
conversation.
into you. I don't know you from nowhere. So how many of us do you associate? I mean, do you hang out in the community?
Yeah, that's one thing. I need to do that more.
So you think, right? I think that's one of the thing, right? The whole the platform or the community we have established at Cycle Podcast is really, really we're doing some great work, inspirational work, right? Trying to bring the change makers, those that are making an impact in the community. They don't want to be in a community. And sometimes I think that's the business owner, the entrepreneur, the doctors, they just don't want to be part of the community. And that's so sad. It is sad, and we need to change that, right? If we want to build wealth, if we want to create generational wealth, those that are leading the way, right, have to come back to the community and say, hey, man, this is how I did it. This is how I succeeded. These are the things I'm doing. Because, I mean, you guys have like business owners, right? Like Miss B, what you stated here earlier, Miss Jerry, the work you're doing with KV Consulting, these are good work. But the community just don't know about them, right? So how can a community get involved? How can someone trust you if they have never dealt with you before? So those are some of the challenges we have. They go both ways, right? They
Yeah,
go both ways. And I think we all, you guys that are lead, the change makers, you guys that are leading the way, I think, it's something that we continue to work. It has to be a two-way street, right? It's like, the community need to do its part. But you guys that are out there, are doing these great things, you guys also have to do your part, right? You cannot avoid the community because the community needs you.
but I've had my share with the community, and that's why I kind of like just venture out.
How
No
how
kidding.
much how hard did you try? Because
I did
sometimes
try, honestly. I did try.
okay.
And it was really frustrating for me. And that's why I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start like looking for other ways and meeting other people. It was really frustrating.
So are you saying
Can
on
you
a
share
are you
some of your process? Like when you say, can you name exactly
okay?
where you went or what experience you had?
So for example, when I work in the investment world and I did that, a lot of that business was sales. So I had to reach out to the community.
Okay.
And when I reach out to folks, we will have these I would bring people from my office. We'll have like seminars and educational things, and people will come and break these things down for people. And at the end of the day, they take no action whatsoever. They will come up with all of the excuses why they don't want to invest or why it didn't make sense to them or whatever the case was. And we'll have these same things in other communities, and the success story it was different. It was just frustrating. People started to look at our community as unserious.
Mm-hmm.
mm, mm,
I
mm,
felt that way because when I was in school, I interned for Northwestern Mutual, which is a financial advisory type
mm,
internship selling
mm,
life insurance, right? And there's
mm,
other investment processes, but you would start out first as an
mm,
intern selling life insurance. And so I was proud of myself. The first year I made power of 10, meaning I had registered 10 people to get life insurance. But the reality is you would find that more white kids were successful as a financial advisor because you built your clientele from your family and your
mm,
friends. Those are your
mm.
first set of customers, right?
Okay, okay.
And I will say to this day, I was doing that internship around 2005. The folks that I did, which were family members, a lot of them still have their policies. But Liberian people had this mindset that they didn't believe in life insurance. But a lot more back in those days. I'm sure more of them now are investing in it, but it's still not a good enough of us that believe in life insurance. And what I was selling them was the fact that your policy is not only for when you die. You know, there's a lot of benefits in your policy now that you can get when you're alive. And I
Yeah.
mean, even if I said, okay, you know what, start out with a term policy and then eventually you can make it into a whole life policy, paying $8 a month. They didn't want to
Mm,
commit. So I understand what you're saying, Jerry, but that frustration I understood is like the lack of education. It's that cultural differences, and I didn't hold it against us necessarily that they didn't want to support me. It is just wasn't a norm. It wasn't a cultural norm. The particular thing I was selling, there wasn't enough education happening around our community because, like I said, the white kids who were interning, I mean, they were making power of 10, power of 50. Basically, that's the more people they were. Some of them I know are multimillionaires just being financial advisors working at Northwestern Mutual to this day, right?
okay,
Because of the network and the circle and the family they come from.
okay, okay, okay. Well, I mean, this is a 1 hour show, and we're almost at the top of the hour. Great conversation, right? How to change the narratives, right? Instead of us just paying into the system, paying taxes, right? Sometimes I feel like we are double tax, triple tax. You know, we our tax burden is high. And that's one of the things I've been talking about tonight, right? But in order to create generational wealth, we need to what? You know, as a rich people pay less taxes, you know, and us poor folks, right? Us hustling, we pay a lot of taxes, right? And I feel like the lottery is one of the way it's one of those regressive tax that we pay unknowingly, but we don't know. We feel that it's trying to, you know, get us rich. But as we wrap this conversation up tonight, right? How do we encourage more successful folks to come back to the community? That's the kind of a thing I want to, you know, end with, right? So wrap it up. How do we encourage more successful folks like you, Miss B, Miss Jerry, with your CareView Consulting, other Liberians that are out there, or big businesses, the medical doctors, the investors? How can we encourage more Liberians, right? More immigrants to come back to the community?
If you're a salon owner or if you're doing hair in your house, believe me, it's better to be a millionaire with 10 people than 1,000 near or 100 near by yourself.
Mm,
Just think about it that way. If you're a salon owner and it's only you are the only stylist in your salon,
mm,
imagine at some point you need to retire. That business is going to retire with you. And then what? Right? Most of our businesses retire with us. Unfortunately, we have to close the business because we never grew the business beyond ourselves. We
okay.
never asked other people to come in as partners. We never invited other investors to come into that business. And so,
Hmm.
therefore, when we're too old to work the business ourselves, it's going to shut down. Think about that. If you're already a business owner, that should not be the end goal. That's not generational wealth. You're still leaving nothing to pass on to your children. right? Because you left the 9 to 5 so you could start the business, so you could have something to pass on to your children. But if you haven't grown that business past you and you're hitting that retirement age, that means you're getting ready to close the doors to that business, whatever business it is.
Okay. Miss Jerry, how can we encourage folks like you, right, to come back to the community? You say you give up on the community because the community didn't embrace you, the community ignore you, the community didn't take you seriously. How can we bring you back? How can we bring you back to the community? And folks like you, how can you guys come back to the community? What does the community need to do?
People just have to come and ask for the help. It's here. I'll give it.
Oh, folks need to come and ask for help. Are you advertising? It's KV Consulting, right? Like, do you go to like maybe like during events to advertise KV Consulting? And what
No,
the services you do? You know?
I haven't done any of that. Maybe there's someone I'll try to do a couple of them.
Okay, so that's a thing there, right? As I said, you guys are the business owners. Let us get our folks from this mindset of paying too much. As I said, we are overtaxed, right? The taxes we pay as Black folks, as immigrants, too much, right? And I think a lot of people think that's one of the way we are paying. That $2 every day, that's a tax, though, because you don't know where you get. You know, and the sad part, you can't be write it off. That's the thing, you cannot even write it off. Right?
It's like you pay double tax. You pay on your salary.
Triple, sometimes it becomes triple, double. You know, it's like it becomes triple, double tax. You know, but
Yeah.
folks, it's been a great conversation tonight, though. So, those are the kind of conversation we need to be having in this community, our business segment. You know, so any last word for either of you guys, Miss B?
I will tax Jerry that when she's hosting her next event in June, she'll have a lot of folks around to start planning the Inner Circle Investment Workshop.
Okay. Inner Circle Investment Workshop. That's a great one. So we're gonna work on
that.
Okay, we're gonna work on that. We'll work with her to bring that up. We'll make sure we'll make that happen already. You ladies will lead that Inner Circle investment for investment group.
Yeah.
Okay. Miss Jerry, did you get that?
So I don't know, something weird happened. I went offline for a little bit.
Okay. Can you repeat yourself, Miss B? What is Miss Jerry
I
gonna
said
do?
I want to task Jerry with in June to start planning when she has a group of folks over to start planning the Inner Circle Investment Workshop.
Yeah.
Ooh. What, like real estate investment? A stock investment?
Just an
Any kind of
investment
investment.
workshop. Any kind of
Investment
investment.
workshop. It's
Okay.
an investment workshop. So June 7 at Miss Jerry House. It will be the first Inner Circle investment workshop.
No, that's not
No,
for
no, 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 no.
That is not for investment.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Advertising here
I'm just kidding. So folks,
girl, your house about to be flooded. Because we got people interested already. We got some people here watching the show talking about we should let them know when we do this roundtable workshop here. Yeah.
Well, folks, it's been a great show tonight, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, as I said, it's a community show. Again, right? As we close it tonight, we are offering lottery prize to the first 200 subscribers to Inner Cycle YouTube channel. Right, the first 200 subscribers. It's a great prize. So go out there and subscribe. So, folks, Miss B, Miss Jerry, you guys have a good night. You know, and folks,
good night, everyone. And we'll come back and announce the winner.
Yeah, we are definitely going to announce the winner. Yeah, we'll announce the winner.
Together as one, we've created a home. So join the conversation. Let's set the tone.